Yeah, hello. Agile development is really catching up. At the same time, the contracting methods are most of the time it is still the fixed price. So there is a paradox or there is a conflict of interest uh, between the true agile development and the available contract types for development. So this presentation will probe the different contract types available and suggest the best possible contract type for agile product development. So let us revisit the Agile Manifesto first. Here, the emphasis is for customer collaboration and for responding to change. That means we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interaction over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. So Agile it's not a rule-driven system. Agile, especially Scrum, is a value-driven system. These values are based on customer collaboration and the ability to respond to change. So it is all about working along with the product owner in delivering great products which will satisfy the business needs or the purpose for which it was intended to be used. So that is the idea. So it is about customer collaboration and responding to change. That is the essence of Agile. Now, again, let us take a quick look at the 12 Agile Principles. The highlighted parts are those areas which gives maximum emphasis for or for the need for collaboration between the customer, the business side, and the development team. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. We welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. So it is about incorporating change. The scope will evolve, and when the scope evolves, the requirements changes will come, and we have to accommodate it for the competitive advantage of the customer. We deliver working software frequently, and business people and developers must work together throughout the project. We build projects around very motivated individuals, and we believe in face-to-face conversation, and we believe only in the working software as a primary measure of progress. We don't trust status reports and stuff like that. Agile processes promote sustainable development. Sponsors, developers, and the users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. So here we are talking about a scenario where the sponsors, developers, and the users work together to deliver and develop, deliver, and optimize the product. It is all about continuous attention to technical excellence because I've seen many projects which fail because the architecture is not modular enough to accommodate changes. So always the emphasis is on technical excellence. Simplicity of the architecture is key, and we believe in self-organizing teams. So it is all driven by values and commitment and openness and trust. And at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. So these are the 12 Agile principles. So without a proper value-based collaboration between the business side and the development side, it is difficult to build great products. So that is the point I'm trying to communicate. Now this is Crossing the Chasm by Geoffery Moore. Whenever we launch a new product, okay, initially, yeah, it was the adoption. Initially, it is adopted by the innovators. So they are, whenever they see a new technology product, they're enthusiastic about it. They vouch for it. They start using it. Then the visionaries they follow suit, and after this innovators and early adopters, there is a small gap here. So sometimes projects stop here because it will not latch on to the visionaries. It becomes a technical marvel, but then it doesn't latch on to the next segment. So after innovators and early adopters, that means, okay, with a market share of approximately 16% of the users using it, potential users using it, then here there is a big gap actually. Yep, so this part is I think is more of a minimum viable product, and here the requirements changes can be very high, and the pragmatist, okay, they latch onto it. They are very realistic. They understand the benefits, because the tech enthusiasts and the visionaries can say it from the rooftops, the benefits, and then pragmatists start adopting the product. And as we discussed, this is where the requirements changes are maximum. Then the conservatives follow suit, and then the skeptics will not have any other go but to follow suit. So this is the typical product life cycle, from the launch to the success and to withdrawal of the product. So we are talking about a scenario where the development team and the product owner, the representative of the business, they work together through all these phases to make the product of the project successful. Now, innovators embrace the new and novel technologies. So we are talking about this segment by innovators. And early adopters are quick to understand the benefits of new technology and gain value by moving more quickly than the rest of the market. So that is the visionaries. And then early majority are more practically minded, often waiting until products are more proven. So that is the pragmatist. And late majority wait for the product to become well established. That is the conservatives. And laggards at the tail end of the adoption curve. So these are the skeptics. So they are at the tail end of the adoption curve. Now, we all know that organizations launch new products as part of their business strategy, and they start with when a new product is launched, it is always a question mark. It is an R&D thing. It is a proof of concept. Then some of the stars, sorry, when a new product starts, it is a question mark, and some of these question marks will become stars over a period of time. That means the product have started bringing in some money, the return on investment have started, or the benefits. If it's an internal project, it is the benefits have started coming in. Then it is funded more. The sponsors are willing to fund it more. Then it will move from stars to cash flow. And this is when the maximum return on investment happens on the product. And from this segment, it after a period of time, it moves to dogs. Classical example, where is the iPod of Apple now? So it is no more in use. So once upon a time it was a cash cow, now it has moved to dogs. So this is the product owner's mindset. So product owner, if you really look at the product owners of successful products, they are more like CEOs without direct reportees. So they are leaders. They are supposed to go and influence others, and then while they are not reporting to them, and then they are supposed to move their product from question marks to stars to cash cows to dogs. So this is the strategic intent behind every product. So when I superimpose the crossing the chasm with the BCG metrics, where the stages of the product, maybe this range is always a kind of a question mark. So this is the product in the question mark, the proof of concept stage. Then once the pragmatists latch onto it, this becomes the star that happens somewhere here. And then it really becomes a cash cow when the conservatives also start using it, and during this phase it is a ramp down stage where the product is reaching kind of an end of life. So this is both crossing the chasm crossing the chasm and the BCG metrics superimposed on top of it. And this is how successful products evolve. And we need a contracting model which encourages it. Agile, yes, it started because it got sick of this rigid stuff maybe 25 years back, and Ken Squaber, Jeff Sutherland, and those visionaries, they came together and then did the Scrum and the Scrum framework and values and stuff like that. In most of the places, based on my experience, okay, yeah, it is really happening without the true spirit, because we have the big bottleneck. Because you cannot define the scope upfront. That is one challenge. Because based on when the product is progressing, the scope elaboration peaks till here, and then only it declines. So that means, okay, we can really freeze the scope here only. We cannot freeze it here and then get into a fixed price contract. So the contract type should support it. But unfortunately, yeah, so when I go back to the contract signed for product development or whatever, most of the contract types, or the nature of the contract type, is fixed price. So that is the barrier actually. So one side, the owner organization, things like this. As a product owner, I have a responsibility to build great products that delight all stakeholders, internal, external. Everybody must be happy. It should bring in the return on investment. That is the vision of the owner organization, and the product owner belongs here. At the same time, we have contractors. They believe that I believe in customer satisfaction. Yes, no, everybody wants it. Nobody's against it. At the same time, as a contractor, I should not make loss. I must survive first. That is his interest also. So now, and there is a big wall here, which is in the form of a fixed price contract. and that ends up in an agile development with a waterfall mindset, constrained by time, cost, and scope. Because by the time the development starts, the damage is already done. Because development starts after signing the contract, and unfortunately, most of the contracts are still fixed price kind of contracts. Especially when no, it is coming from a functional organization. They're developing something for their internal use, and even for product development, the predominant contract type is fixed price. So these are the existing contract types, or the most common contract types. So I've put the contractor here, and the cost risk for the contractor, low, high, and here the customer. The cost risk for the customer, here it is low and here it is high. So if it is a fixed price contract, the nature of the contract, if it is fixed price, the contractor's cost risk is very, very high, because there is the possibility of the contractor making a loss is very high if it is fixed price. Loss or profit, one of it. Then if it is target price, that means, okay, we are fixing a target price, and if the actual price is lower than the target price, then the benefits are shared between the contractor and the customer. But if the actual price goes above the target price, then both the customer and the contractor will share the additional financial burden. So if the actual cost is within control, and if it is going to be equal to or less than the target price, then the cost risk is low for both the customer and the contractor. At the same time, if the actual cost is going way above the target price, then it becomes very risky for the customer and the contractor. So that is about target price, which is slightly better than fixed price, because the cost risk is shared between the customer and the contractor. Then we have the whole set of time and material, cost plus, and agile and scope plus kind of thing. From a cost perspective, if you really look at it, the cost risk is very high for the customer here. Okay, whereas the cost risk is very low for the contractor if the nature of the contract falls into this category. For those of you who are new to this target pricing, so in the contract we'll determine a target cost, and if the actual development cost is lesser than the target cost, then this profit is shared between the contractor and the customer. But if the actual price is actual cost is way above the target cost, then this additional financial burden is also shared between the contractor and the customer. So that way the benefit as well as the burden are shared between the contractor and the customer. So that way this is slightly better than fixed price. Then now let us look at the characteristics of a true agile contract, which is an idealistic agile contracts. It should help optimize the economic value for all the parties in both the short and the long term. So this, both for both the customer and for the supplier. I met one of my customers for whose company I did some consulting for transitioning their teams from waterfall to agile. So I met him recently and asked him, like, how is the business going? So he's saying things are fine because I'm not getting any new customers because of the changed economic scenarios, but the existing customers are giving me continuous business, and sometimes they want to do more. So that way my cash flows are not affected, my cash flows are safe. So we are talking about that, optimize the economic value for all the parties. Customers are willing to invest more because they are getting better ROI from the product built, and in the process the supplier also benefits in the long term. Exploit variability via adaptive responses to requirements as new knowledge emerges. So that means when the product moves from early adopters to when the product crosses the chasms, the requirements, spurt of requirements, additional requirements will happen, and we should be able to exploit that variability, and that contract type should support it. And always it should provide, the contract type should provide complete and continuous visibility and objective evidence of solution fitness with respect to not only technical aspects but with respect to meeting the business purposes as well. Then provide, the agile contracts must provide a measured approach to investment that can vary over time. So it must be driven by gates. So when you may sign a contract for proof of concepts, demonstrate, that contract ends there, and if the customer is happy, then the next phase, that is a minimum viable product, there must be a contract for that. Again, there should be a review, then there may be another contract that is for incorporating additional features from the product backlog, and you allow the product backlog to evolve continuously. So there's a staged investment, and the customer can decide not to invest also as the project progresses. A true agile contract should offer the supplier near-term confidence of funding. So yeah, there should be some assurance for the suppliers at least for the near-term confidence, near-term funding, and there must be sufficient notice when funding winds down or stops. Yeah, it cannot be an abrupt end. There should be signals going to the supplier well in advance so that he can reschedule his resources. And an agile contract must motivate all parties involved to build the best solution possible within agreed to economic boundaries. So it is about working together as one unit. Once you start working, there is no supplier and customer. It's just one unit working together in building that product, or the dream product. So the contractual clauses should not come into that and then demotivate the parties. Now the same contract types, instead of looking at it from the cost perspective, the moment we start looking at it from the value perspective, where the value is benefit by cost, then fixed price is again low value for the contractor as well as for the customer. Target time and material, yes, it is a high value for the contractor. At the same time, it is sometimes very risky. So maybe if things go wrong, it will end up as a very low value for the customer. Then target price, it is high value for the customer, and because there is the possibility of the actual cost going above the target cost, the value part to the supplier may not be that high. Then we have agile and scopeless. That means we are engaging in an agile mode. The contract nature of the contract is for services. So we get resources, agile ready resources who are compatible to our way of thinking. So we don't contract for the scope. We contract for the capability and for the resources. That is agile and scopeless contracts. That gives, if it is managed well, that gives tremendous value to the customer and tremendous value to the contractor. When I say from the customer's perspective, I have a stable team who will work with me continuously till I crosses all the chasms and make the product successful. Because that'll happen only over a period of time. By version 1.0 of the product, it is not going to happen. It has to iterate, it has to accommodate evolving requirements, and then it has to go beyond the early adopters to the pragmatists. Then only the product will become stable. So agile and scopeless is the paradigm shift is we are not signing the contract for the scope. We are signing the contract for agile based services, architects, programmers, and the team. The scopeless agile contract, the elements of it, it cannot be like a time and material kind of thing. There should be provisions for risk sharing between the customer and the supplier. It must set overarching objective. That means the product roadmap, both the customer and the supplier should own the product roadmap, and the success criteria must be defined in alignment to the product roadmap. We contract for service, not for scope. Discover, deliver, and optimize within the contract, and fix cost and time for people. And before getting into the contract itself, there should be a provision for easy exit or rolling it forward. That means at the end of every chasm, early innovators, then there's a chasm, then there is early adopters, then there's a big chasm, and then the pragmatist, then there is a chasm and the skeptics. Yep. So if the product is not scaling and going beyond that chasms, or from the minimum viable product it is not going up value wise, then the easy exit policies must be there for both the customer and the supplier. At the same time, if the going is fine, renewing the contract to the subsequent stages also must not be time consuming. It must be kind of an automatic process. Then for execution of scopeless agile contracts, you start small and grow. First you engage a small team who will help you to develop the proof of concept and then the minimum viable product. Start small. Even the requirements must be the must have, not the whole must have. Maybe just enough to convince the early adopters. So start small and grow as the product gains momentum. It must be a combined team between the contractor and the supplier. The client and supplier together must work together throughout all the phases. and they must work together even for discovery and delivery. So it is not like somebody from the customer side documents the scope and baselines it and then engage the contractor. Both the contractor uh, and the supplier will be engaged in the discovery and delivery of the product. There should not be any negotiation on the quality front, because quality, whatever work is completed, the quality must be of very high quality. Release early and release often, and regular governance reviews at the end of every segment, maybe, yeah. Innovators and early adopters, all the chasms level. Okay, you can synchronize your senior management, the governance reviews, or the no-go meetings, and then decide things. So it is not a free-for-all time and material contract. It is a scopeless agile contract which protects, or which is embedded with these spirits or these points during the contract signing stage, as well as during the contract signing stage, as well as during the execution stage. Now, this is the full story. Here we are talking about starting small. So here we engage a small team from the supplier side, and we just pick up enough features for the proof of concept, that is this stage. So we develop a proof of concept to satisfy the tech enthusiasts and then scale up the team little more. That is for doing the minimum viable product. Your requirements, the discovery will happen, more discoveries will happen. So the team is now augmented and they start delivering things here. And here the stage gate reviews will happen, or the phase gate reviews, or no go meeting. One will happen here, one can happen here. And then here again you will see a spurt of new requirements. Then you augment the team more to satisfy this segment. Then from this stage onwards, the ramp down can happen because now conservatives and then the skeptics. So the team can become smaller and smaller. And so here we are talking about a continuous engagement model. The engagement is through agile contracts. Agile contract with the scope less. Scope is not defined because the team must be involved in both the discovery and the development of the product. So this is the kind of an arrangement we are looking. And why the customer should be happy? Because when new requirements come, there is no big negotiation process, and that is how it is agreed upon, and that is how that is the nature of development, product development, because nobody can think through all the features. And investment is also protected. Initially, we do a small proof of concept here, then minimum viable product. So by the time you complete the minimum viable product, some revenue also start coming in, or the benefits also start coming in, then you fund more. So the financial risk is also protected. The scope risk is also eliminated. So that way, yeah, there is a strong supply chain for you. So that is, and once you start work with a team for some time, the familiarity increases and the predictability increases. Why this is high value for the contractor? That is because, okay, I can see the larger picture, and business is assured for a very long time. So as a contractor, if I can do well here, I'll get into this phase also, and if this is fine, I'll get into this phase also. And then, okay, I'll start getting signals. So it is not a gradual decline. Gradually, the team engagement decreases. So I can plan better. So it is a win-win situation. So we are talking about agile, scopeless type of contracts, which is not free for all, which has very strict control mechanisms built into it. So in all agile slash scopeless contracts, the scope is flexible, schedule is flexible, quality, there is no negotiation on it. Quality standards, quality must be of maximum importance, because otherwise if the quality is not there, it will not cross these chasms. When you try to scale up, more and more issues will come, and then customer dissatisfaction will crop up and the product will fail. So there should not be any negotiation on the quality front, and there is cost is also not negotiable, because it is phase-wise funding for the project. Stringent controls on the cost side. Maybe you can play with scope and schedule, but not with quality and cost. So that is the spirit of true agile contract, and this is how it can benefit. So this is a Scrumland. This video is recorded for scrumlands.org. It's a community of true agile product owners, scrum masters, and developers, driven by true agile contracts. So there are very small teams, individuals, and product owners. When I say product owners, individuals who want to build a product, which is their dream, and the product owner can be an organization who wants to build something where the scope has to be elaborated. So scrumlands.org is a project to build a community of professionals who believe that, okay, fixed price contract is a big issue, and who wants to do things based on the true agile spirit, driven by agile contracts. So this is just a project page. So I invite you to visit this page, scrumlands.org, and you can also join this community of true agile product owners, scrum masters, and developers, driven by agile contracts. You need not be an expert in agile or scrum. Once you are part of this community, you will be mentored, and you will be trained and mentored on the right, from the basics of Scrum framework to advanced product development and release and stuff like that. So if you are interested to delve more into this, visit scrumlands.org and fill up a small form there, and that means, okay, we can continue our engagement and discussions in propagating true agile development. Thank you very much. I trust you got some value out of this presentation, and whatever questions you have, you can post it as comments under this video, and I'll answer them. And as discussed before, you're all welcome to join or cooperate or collaborate with scrumlands.org, which is a project by the Project Management Research Institute to promote true agile contracts based development. Thank you very much.